Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to Case by Case. This is Amy. I'm with Cherie. We've got Dee in the chat. Um, we
Hello.
are, we are, well, I'm coming to you today from well, it looks pretty outside, but I know it's going to be treacherous. We had about 2 inches of rain yesterday through last night, and then woke up this morning to snow and freezing rain. So we won't be going anywhere.
We're getting hit with snow. It's been snowing hard all day. I don't know how much, probably at least 6 inches or more.
Yeah, it's not going to be pretty. Luckily, I'm off tomorrow. So, um, excuse me. So I wanted to let you guys know that I had planned on going live at 5 o'clock today to do the open discussion. I'm excited about doing that. I need more time to prepare. I want to get some things lined up that I can pull up if needed. And with last night's live and all the work that I did yesterday, I haven't got there yet. Plus, I had to prepare for this. So I wanted to make sure that it was worthwhile to do for everybody. So thanks for being here. If you're not familiar with the channel, um, when I first started this channel, I started this channel to cover Ashley Garth's case. She is from Delphi, Indiana, and we did about a year's worth of coverage on her case. Yet it was slow going because we were still in the process of trying to obtain everything regarding her case. And there's another case that is involved with her case that was not allowed in, and we have more information on that. Um, we're going to get into the details of the case. We're going to start at the beginning. Not today. What we're doing today is a recap and an overview of the case and all the players involved, and to kind of answer some questions and hopefully to pique your guys' interest and get you guys more involved in her case, because it's, her case is not anything like Richard Allen's case. Ashley was not a victim of, you know, bad acts by the state. She was failed by just the justice system overall. She was, she suffered from ineffective assistance counsel and trusting the system and several other things that were not working in her favor at the time that she wasn't aware of. So, Cherie, do you have anything that you want to say before we dive in?
Well, I did you say that she's not a victim of any bad acts by the state?
I mean, not like Richard Allen, not like
Oh,
stuff being hidden.
not that well, not
Not that
that
well.
bad. But I'm sure we could think of some things to bring up that the state was
It
shady
was
on and stuff, but not to the extent of poor Richard Allen. No.
no. Indiana girl, I have already rescheduled the open discussion for tomorrow at 2 p.m. I am off tomorrow. So, and I have to, if we spend a couple hours online tomorrow, then by the time I get off, I've got to get some laundry done and get ready for my work week, because I go back to work on Tuesday. So I have to fit that real world stuff in sometime. So it's tomorrow at 2 o'clock. Okay, I'm gonna, yeah, tomorrow at 2 p.m. So, real quick, everybody, I know that this is a very controversial case, and I think everybody had a specific opinion about this case prior to us covering it. So, everybody's opinion is welcome here. Do not attack the channel. Do not attack my moderators or my guests. Make sure that you keep it respectful. We don't have to agree on everything. We don't. You can disagree with my interpretation of this case. That's fine. I don't appreciate the name calling. I don't want to argue and fight on here. That's not what this is about. You can listen. You can voice your opinion respectfully, and I have no problem with that. So I'm going to just make that clear going forward. So first, I want to start off with I'm going to show you guys what we're looking at here in this case. So the case that we're getting ready to start recovering again. Oh, sorry. What is this? Sorry. So Lori James is not from Newton County. I'm trying to think of where her office is. Do you remember where her office is, Cherie?
Not offhand, but I'll look it up real quick.
Okay. Okay, so going forward with what we have in Ashley's case, covering it, I want to let you know that we've got a little over $3,000 wrapped up in this case as far as all of the case coverage, the case docs, everything we've got. I'm going to go off the list. So, as we get deeper and deeper into this, we've got everything that we could possibly get our hands on to share with you. So we have medical records, we have Facebook messages, we have emails, we have depositions, we have pretrial motions, we have trial transcripts, we have interrogation videos, we have we have an autopsy report, we have the DNA analysis report, we have 136 trial exhibits, we have handwritten letters, we have jail messages, we have police reports, family interviews, multiple audio interviews from people involved with the case, and criminal records and more. So we have pretty much everything that we need to, be transparent in our coverage of this case. And Cherie's going to look up. Lori James was
Rensselaer.
Rensselaer. Okay.
I don't know what county that is. Maybe Rensselaer County, but I'll look that up too. But I know it's Rensselaer. However you say it, Rensselaer.
Yeah, she was assigned as a public defender for Ashley, and it's a situation where there really was nothing done on Ashley's behalf in this case. So we're going to get into that. She's very she was a very unseasoned attorney at the time to take on an actual case with charges of murder, and she did very, I don't want to say intentionally poor work. There was just a million things that should have been done that were not done. And Ashley was more or less kind of encouraged to take a plea deal, which she did not, thank goodness. However, um, if she had, she would have probably been home by now. Everybody else in this case besides Garrett got a slap on the wrist, and the only thing that convicted Ashley really was the words of Garrett Kirts. And we're going to get into it. Go ahead.
Sorry. Indiana girl said that Rensselaer is in Jasper County, which is between White and Newton County. Okay, I'm done.
Oh, you're fine. No, I'm not from Indiana at all. Been there a whole bunch of times. I'm not far, I'll say that. But I've been there, and I've been doing work like this for over 2 years now, so I feel like I know the areas pretty well. So if you guys have any questions before we get started, I'll answer as best I can, and then we'll jump in. So it was Newton County where Ashley was charged, but the crime actually occurred in Kentland. Really, what, 8 minutes from the courthouse, to be honest. And the body was dumped a little bit further out, still in Newton County. So I'm going to introduce you to Ashley so you guys know who she is. There'll be more information about her to come out. Ashley grew up in Delphi. She's 32 years old, and this is Ashley pre charges. This is what she looked like pre-charges. If you've seen her arrest photo, um, it took, let me see, it took Garrett about 7 months to get her into that state that she was in. And it's just a really, it's a sad situation. But this is Ashley. She grew up in Delphi all of her life. She graduated from, I believe, Delphi High School. Ashley worked at the Indiana Beach. She has 3 sisters. She had all of her family still lives there. Ashley has one child, which is a son, and Ashley is a self-described tomboy who loves fishing with her dad and camping. She calls herself a river rat. She's very much a tomboy. Like I said, she's 32 years old, and after being involved in a relationship with Garrett Kirts, Ashley's life took a downward turn. Developed an addiction and suffered from severe physical abuse at the hands of Garrett Kirts. So just briefly, I'm going to go over. So Ashley and Garrett dated prior to 2016. Um, it was a tumultuous relationship, abusive relationship. Garrett had a big problem with multiple different types of drugs, and Ashley dibbling and dabbling along with him as his girlfriend, at some point realized that she had a problem and she needed to get out of the situation that she was in. So she reached out to her family. Um, a family member paid for her to travel and move to Florida to get away from the Delphi scene, the Carroll County drug scene. She went to rehab, stayed down there in Florida for a little over a year. She was in Florida in all of 2017. So she was not here when the Delphi case happened. She came back, I would say, right before the 4th of July. I think that's when it was late June or around the 4th of July of what, 2018 or 2017? So it was later in 2017 when she came back. And she was clean. She, everybody in her family said she, had her wits about her. She was doing great. She had got her, I believe it was a CNL license, and was going to work. Garrett had been in jail and had gone through a work release program to where he was apparently sober and clean. And technically, in this work release program, he met Nicole Bowen, who is the victim in this case. He gets out of work release and, hi, Kathy S. He gets out of work release, and apparently the two of them think that it's a good idea that, we can make this work now. We both are on the right track. They started seeing each other again, and immediately there started to be problems. And Garrett was Garrett liked to steal a lot. He stole from his own family. He stole from Ashley. He stole from Ashley's child. It was kind of a situation of, her trying to get him out and he wouldn't leave and it wasn't worth the fight and yada, yada, yada. So by October, and it's unfortunate because after this all transpired, her family removed her Facebook. Her family had it taken all down. But on her Facebook in October, she was actually sporting 2 black eyes, and he also had broke her arm. I'm going to write that down, Indiana. Michael Fleeman. Okay. Thank you for that. I wrote that down. Oh, that might be the author's name. John David Smith. Okay, that's the author. Um, thank you. I don't know how. I don't know what draws me to Indiana. I mean, I hate to say it, but there's a lot of crime everywhere. But these small counties in Indiana are just they're fascinating to me. Hey, Mother of Dragons, thanks for helping out last night. So, going forward, that is how the relationship, you know, ended up ended up evolving after Ashley came back from Florida. So that's pretty much the situation at the beginning of January of 2019. Hey, Kaleida Hope. Cherie, do you want to talk? I mean, Cherie, Cherie has worked with me on this case for at least a year and a half. We've traveled together to all of these areas involved in the case, and Delphi in the Delphi case. So, Cherie, do you have anything you want to add to this?
Well, I just, Indiana girl, I think it was, asked where Garrett grew up, or asked if he also grew up in Delphi. And I thought it was the Brookston,
Mm-hmm.
Lebanon area. Is that right?
Yep, I'm going to go it. There it is.
Oh, okay.
So this is Garrett Kirts, everybody. And when all this happened, he was at the old age of 21 years old. So he grew up in Brookston and became very involved with drug and petty crimes at a young age. He had quite the record before he was 18, and I believe some of his juvenile record has been sealed. So, but you can still see some of his cases from prior to 18. He did spend a lot of time on Ron Logan's property. Apparently, Ron Logan and Garrett's grandfather and dad were friendly. They knew each other very well. I believe Garrett's dad used to he used to stable horses on Ron Logan's property, and Garrett worked on the property on and off throughout the years, and he knew the property and the land and the Monon High Bridge very well. He's talked about, riding four-wheelers out there, being on the bridge, knowing Ron's property. And so when he kind of inserted himself into the Delphi case, when he was arrested for this case, which made him an immediate person of interest. Not to mention, Garrett was arrested on April 1st of 2019. And on April 19th is when Doug Carter held the press conference and said, we're going in a new direction. And they released the new Young Bridge Guy sketch. And immediately, a lot of people said, holy crap, that's Garrett Kirts. So I can't read what I have here. And I have in here, he resumed a relationship with Ashley after she moved back to Delphi in 2018.
He worked at Packers a very short time, though, I think, because he said he was still in orientation when he got fired for not showing up. I just heard that on Open Secrets again. So
yeah, he definitely, he said that he was hired at Packers and he was in orientation. And supposedly on February 13th, he did not go to work because he called it dope sick, that he had done so much spice the day before that he was throwing up and couldn't go. So of course he was fired. Mother of Dragon says, he is hard to look at. All I see is evil in him. When I say, look, I just mean pictures. I do not live in Indiana. It's sad, really, from the pictures. I have seen it. It's a beautiful state. It is very pretty there. I love driving through the the back roads and stuff there. It is so pretty. You're absolutely right. Kathy S says, I question Mathis. Well, hopefully, if you stick around and you follow our second round of coverage here, you'll get a chance to ask those questions, or maybe they'll automatically be answered. So this is Garrett. Garrett was also involved. Well, we'll get there. Sorry, guys. Garrett was, well, this is Nicole Bowen. This is the victim in this case. This is who Garrett met in the work release program. And she has 2 sons. She began dating Garrett in January of 2019. At this time, Garrett and Ashley were still together, but on the verge of breaking up. And at around the same exact time, Ashley ended up kicking Garrett out of her house. And which then gave Garrett no place to go. He wasn't allowed at his family's house, any of his family's properties, because of his drug use and his stealing. So Garrett and Nicole Bowen began living and staying over on the Paladino compound. And that lasted until about March 18th. And the week of March 18th, there was a big falling out between the two of them. And we'll go into more detail about that and why that occurred and how it led ultimately to her death. So just know that from January on, Garrett was with Nicole Bowen. They were a couple. At the same time, Garrett was having a secret, intimate relationship with Talitha Beckley. And I'm going to hammer this home all through this case. At Ashley's trial, never once was the court or the jury made aware that Garrett and Nicole were a couple and Garrett and Talitha Beckley were a couple. It was never brought in by Ashley's attorney. It was never attempted to be brought in by Ashley's attorney. And of course, the state was grateful for that because they didn't either, of course. So in her trial, her week-long trial, no one knew in the jury that they were a couple. So next up, so we've gone through Ashley, we've gone through Garrett. Nicole is the victim. Now we're going to look at Talitha Beckley. Talitha Beckley lived on the Paladino compound. She was originally involved with Mark Paladino. You'll hear reference throughout this case, her favorite uncle, which that is reference to Mark Paladino. She had been in an intimate relationship with Mark Paladino until the two of them were arrested together on a breaking and entering in Pulaski County. They were both arrested because he was an habitual offender, more so than her. He did not get out. She got to bond out. He did not. So, of course, she goes back home to the Paladino compound and does the next best thing. And now she's starting to have an intimate relationship with Mark's nephew, Jason, including Garrett Kirts. So living on the property, she was with Jason Paladino, Garrett Kirts, and Nicole, and she is sleeping with both the men. Talitha did not like Ashley. And Garrett has told me himself that she didn't like Nicole either. But you can only take what he says with a grain of salt. You'll find truths in some things that he says, especially with things like that. Talitha has implicated herself in several. And I say several because there are several serious cases that she's implicated herself in. whether it be the David Kallenberger case, whether it be Delphi, whether it be the burying her own child in the woods. We're going to listen to Jasmine Parker's interrogation video, and there's a lot of detail in there about things that Talitha conveyed to Jasmine Parker about things that she's done. Talitha was also very loyal to the Paladinos, even being arrested with Mark Paladino, and she played a very significant role in the case here with Nicole Bowen. I believe there's enough evidence that we can prove that. So, Indiana Girl, so the Paladinos are a family, and Jason is closer to Ashley's age. Mark Paladino is Jason's uncle.
And Jason and CJ are brothers. Is that correct?
Yes.
So, and they're both sons of Curtis. I'm trying to get them straight.
Yeah. Jason and CJ are brothers, and Mark is their uncle. CJ's real name is Curtis. He's a Curtis Jr. Jason and Curtis Jr.'s dad is also named Curtis. Curtis and Mark are brothers. Yes, Indiana Girl, we have went through the Ray Hainish case. That is going to be blended in with this case. So, yeah, and that's a very tragic story as well. Yes, Deputy Dog, tentacles here, tentacles there, they're everywhere. You're not kidding. Shit. So this is Jason Palladino. This is who lived on the property, the compound that they call it. He is Mark Palladino's nephew. He was in a relationship with Talitha after his uncle went to prison. He's a meth dealer. He's what people have referred to as a shot caller, and that's according to Garrett as well. And he ordered Nicole to be taken out. A lot of people that I've interviewed and talked to throughout working on this they've all made the point to say that people do what the Paladinos tell them to do, or there's serious consequences. And what's interesting is that you will never look at their records and believe that. And that's interesting to me. And then when you go back through a lot of their meth cases and things like that, you're going to see a lot of defense attorneying done by yours truly, Nick McClelland. So next up, if I can get my page to turn, we have Jasmine Parker and Chris Mathis. Chris Mathis is AKA called the Elf. You'll understand why later. These two, believe it or not, and this right here is one of those things where when you listen to Open Secrets, okay, and you listen to Garrett and Chris on those phone calls. Hey, Toby, how are you? Toby Garth has entered the chat, people. Toby, Ashley's listening right now. So they lie obsessively, and they're the kind of maybe I'll get into that at the very end because it's a lot. But this is Chris Mathis and Jasmine Parker, aka Jasmine Clark. They were living and they were a couple, regardless to what Chris Mathis wanted people to believe. All you have to do is watch Jasmine Parker's interrogation video and you get the whole story. So really quick, I'm going to pop on here. You're going to love the dramatic music that goes with this video. But this is uh, this is where the two of them were living out in Kentland when this whole incident happened. This is Jasmine Parker's trailer.
The music is much quieter than usual, but what we see is more important than the music.
So the reason I kept recording after I pulled out of that trailer lot was because I wanted people to be able to see how literally out in the middle of nowhere that was. I mean, this is like a small little, I want to say it's called Miller, the trailer park, but it's like a horseshoe. So it's a very small trailer park right there, but it literally sits right in the heart of the middle of a cornfield. And it's, I mean, it's surreal to go there. It really is. And because, knowing what transpired there and how it all went about, it is very rural. So here's a still shot of it. And what's going to become important about the details in this is where the arrow is right there. Apparently, Jasmine had a warrant out for her arrest. So she kept her front door padlocked. So any company that came had to go around to the back here and enter this way, as if that would, prevent them coming to pick her up, I guess. But this was the area right here that was utilized by Garrett Kirts that night.
They enter into where you have that black arrow. Is that what you're saying?
Yes,
Oh,
yes. So yeah, that's the little extension right there off the back, and there's a camera across the street that captured Garrett Kurtz pulling Nicole's car in or backing it in along the side of the trailer here to the back of the trailer to load her in the back of the car, the back of the trunk. So next up, I'm going to just play the short video that I have of the Paladino compound. And I guess I feel like prior to going out there, I always kind of had in my head a compound, like, this is a huge, gated facility with floodlights and absolutely not. It's not. It's a very ran down place. It's this particular location has had several search warrants served on it, and the property itself is owned by Curtis Paladino, Jason and CJ's father. And there's two trailers on the property. And I believe the Paladinos, whether it be Mark or Jason, always utilize the front one as a residence or like a hangout spot. But anytime they had ever dealt with the courts or being arrested, they never gave this address as their residence. The house, the second trailer in the back, they rented out. And there's multiple records of evictions at that property. I think I showed one the other night during the live chat of the Under the Bridge segment. And in 2017, this is where the Ingalls were staying. Talitha's mother also lived right here in this area. and so did Cheyenne Ingalls at the time. And this property is also behind it is Charlie or Charles, who goes by Chuck Mershand, who's related to the Patties. So let me pop this on here. So the property that I'm talking about right now is this Paladino property that I'm getting ready to show you. The compound is in Monticello, right next to Delphi. Let me start it over. This is the first trailer in the front. There, if you look behind it, there's a second one. Behind this red barn here sits that trailer, and then there's a trailer behind it. This road pretty kind of like dead ends, and then you have to turn around and come back out. And I think when I come back out, um, I get a visual of the house that has hogs and a fenced in. So coming up here, we're going back towards the compound, and right before the road turns left to the right there's a fenced in area right there, and there's hogs. There were big hogs in that fenced in area. And the reason that's significant to me is because Talitha had told Jasmine Parker that they had fed bodies to hogs. So that kind of gives you guys the lay of the land, the two properties that are going to kind of play a role in this case, and what they look like. So that's what I was presenting today, just kind of going over the players, the information about kind of each person, what kind of where they fell into play. So I can open it up to questions, and me and Cherie are going to get together this week. We're going to map out an additional schedule of this case, going back and covering it from the beginning. And we should be able to, hopefully, because we don't have to wait. Like when we were covering it before, we had to wait. We had to wait for stuff to come in. Newton County is not electronically quick. So they're still dealing with money orders with transcripts and everything. So I had to send everything by money order and then wait for it to be received. And then she would send me the copies. And it took us, because you got to remember, there were 5 co-defendants in this case. There was Garrett, Ashley, Talitha, Chris Mathis, and Jasmine Parker. And yes, of course, Jason Paladino was named in the probable cause affidavit. He was discussed in court. Garrett was charged with Ashley was charged with conspiracy because Jason Paladino ordered Nikhil to be unalived. Was Jason ever charged? No. Was Jason ever brought in and put on the stand? No. Was he ever interviewed that we have a record of or deposed? No. So that is the theme right now with Jason Paladino, along with everything else that the Paladinos are involved in. And uh, I think that I'm I, I'm going to wait and kind of I'll try not to throw my ultimate opinion out there. I'll let you guys get a feel for the case, and you'll understand what happened here and how it transpired. So, is it close to the Sandbar restaurant? That's what hubby thinks. Out just past Lowe's Bridge. It's a dead end for a reason. Yeah, really. It's off of 600. Um, Ashley, oh, she's not here anymore. Hey Toby, what does that intersect out there with that main road? That is it 1200 below Oakdale Dam. Okay. It's off of 600. That whole women doing chaos, that whole corner lot is their area, is their property. Um uh, and that's just one of their properties. I believe Curtis Paladino owns several more in Yemen. And I was told, I don't know, I highly doubt that he still owns it, but I believe that Mark Palladino owned a um, TV repair shop. Um, Toby, can you confirm that? I've been told that multiple times, but I've never been able to find anything. But he's been in prison for several years, so I don't know if it was handed over to someone else or if it was closed. I don't know. Mark Palladino right now is currently in Westville.
So there are a lot of trailers on that park, or well, it's not really a park, but that it kind of looks like a very creepy part, kind of, because there are a lot of trailers in there, but only one section is Paladinos, to your knowledge.
That corner property. There's like there's the main, like on 600 when you get down in there, there's regular trailers all on your left-hand side, that I believe they're all similar in size and their lots are all similarly the same. But before you get that stretch of property, you're going to turn right on Hodges Drive, and immediately turning right, Paladino property is right there. It's that whole corner now, and I don't know behind them how much how much land they own, like how many acres they own behind the trailers, because there's a thicket of trees, and then there's a whole nother like open field that goes out to the main road, and out by the main road is where Chuck Marchand lives. So their houses are far away from each other, but they're back to back, if that makes sense. There's a lot of land in between, and I don't know. That might be something that Dee can find out for me by looking up the property records, if we can figure out how much land they actually own right there. So, what else do you think that we should talk about today before we schedule another one to really dig in? Or how about this? For those of you in the chat, let's do this. And Cherie, you can still sit. I didn't mean to cut you off. For those of you in the chat, if you've heard things about this case, or if you have an opinion right now about this case, throw it in the chat. Rebecca Ann. Okay. So, well, Rebecca, you can start right here with watching these, because you won't have to go back and watch last year's videos. We're going to cover it all brand new right here. You said, what was her role in the murder? She didn't do it. So what was her charges? So it's really too much. She did not do it. And she didn't orchestrate this. This was something that she was not involved in. She had a restraining order against Garrett. It's a long story. We're going to get into it. We're going to show you the arrest reports, the restraining order itself. We're going to show you the police report from it. But he was very physically abusive to Ashley, and she had kicked him out. And he went over to the Paladinos and lived um, with Nicole. Ultimately, Garrett continued to harass Ashley, breaking in her house. He broke the restraining order and was arrested and released, He ends up 14 days after being released from violating the restraining order on Ashley, he ends up at Ray Hanish's house and unalives Ray Hanish. We don't know who was there. We don't know if Nicole was with him or not. But Nicole was with him when he was arrested in Ray Hanish's vehicle on March 14th. Long story short, the police come looking for him and Nicole. They show up at Ashley's wanting to know if she had seen him. And yes, Rebecca, yes, Garrett dragged her name in it. He, so he, she, what really triggered this, I believe what really triggered this day was when the police showed up to question Ashley, that they pretty much told her that he was involved with a gay man. And Ashley had been telling her grandma, and Ashley had been seeing signs of Garrett being bisexual, being interested in men, although he always would deny it. So when the police came and divulged that information, and she agreed that she would try to reach out and find out where he's at, she went to Facebook and basically spilled the beans and said, I told you guys he was a bad word. So I don't know if that's what set him off, but this was the weekend. This was the weekend of March 24th. He shows up. Ashley ends up, hi, Travis. Ashley ends up in the ER. And this was on a Monday. And he takes her to Kitland and leaves her and shows up late that night with Talitha Beckley and Nicole. A fight breaks out, and Garrett strangles Nicole to death. There's so much more involved here, so we're going to go through it all. Hey, Travis, how you doing? Travis, you want to come up? He worked on all of this with me and Cherie for a long time, helping me get documents and guiding me through what's important as far as when I go to the courthouse. So he was a huge help. Well, Rebecca, the one thing that the one thing that happened in this situation is, you know, Garrett is he's a thief. Okay, so ultimately with him, both of the unalivings with Ray and Nicole involved him walking away with a car. Hey, Travis, Michael said, "Get your sorry self up here." Um, so, hey, Travis, I'm going to send you the link. Give me 1 second, guys. So in both cases, he ended up with first he ended up with Ray's car, then he ended up with Nicole's car, and ultimately, I believe his intention was to sell Ray's car, but he got pulled over basically the same day that he took off with it, and so it ended up in the impound. And the police knew that he was the driver of the vehicle when because they believe Ray was murdered on the 13th, and Garrett was arrested on the 14th with Nicole in the car and a boy named Kyle Stout. And they let Kyle go on foot. And then, Cherie, sorry, guys.
What?
I'm trying to send, um,
Oh, you want me to?
hold on. I might have it. I had several different links in here because of last night. I wanted to make sure I didn't send him the wrong one. There you go, Travis. I just emailed it to you. So they believe Garrett was unalived on the 13th, and Garrett was arrested on the 14th in the car. They were arrested with methamphetamines, a syringe, a scale, and they let Kyle Stout go on foot. And now just remember, I probably didn't say this before, but in the video for the Paladinos, that front house there, that burgundy house, is where Kyle Stout and Russell Stout, they were brothers. They both lived there. And one of them was with Garrett and Nicole in the car. So we don't know at this time if Nicole was at Ray's house or not. There obviously was evidence of a party that was thrown in the apartment. So they knew once they found they found him on the 17th. They knew that Garrett was driving the car. Because they had arrested Garrett and Nicole. Well, that was on the 14th. We know that Garrett and Nicole were together the rest of that week and that weekend, all the way up until the 18th. And something on the 18th, I believe, between the 18th and the 24th, something transpired that created fear in Nicole. There was Garrett. My understanding is that Garrett had discovered either the entire police report, where when they were arrested, she basically spilled the beans on where the drugs came from, who they got them from, yada, yada, yada. And at one point, after all of this transpired, after Nicole was unalived, Garrett had told Ashley that he had to do it because she was going to do a controlled buy on Jason Paladino. And it's been said numerous times that Paladino was bringing in methamphetamines from Arizona. So this is just what was said. This is why throughout mainly Talitha's interrogation video, you're going to hear her state that Garrett refers to Nicole as a snitching bee. But these things, what I'm talking about right here, the 18th through the 24th, these are things that Ashley knew nothing about. Ashley was not involved at Ray's, and where that whole misconception came from the onset of this case, was back on January 20th when Garrett broke into Ashley's trailer and hid and waited and attacked her, beat the crap out of her, strangled her unconscious multiple times. Ashley truly was initially Garrett's first intended victim. She just luckily got away, and her friend banged on the door, and Garrett took off. But when he took off with the phone. Travis, I sent you the link if you want to come up. It's in your email. And here's the crazy thing. The crazy thing is, in the police report, Garrett, when they get to Garrett's house, or to his grandmother's house where he went, he admits to taking Ashley's phone. He stole her phone. and they arrest him, but they don't take the phone and give it back to Ashley. They just leave it at Garrett's grandmother's house. That phone began to be used by Garrett from that time on and off all the way up until March 14th when he was pulled over in Ray's car. And that phone was left on Ray Hanish's coffee table at Ray's apartment. And so we don't even know if when he's out running around, they probably had planned on going back to the apartment if they were leaving belongings there. But the phone that was found there that belonged to Ashley was stolen months prior during that break-in. Mother of Dragons, you said Arizona is brought up in the Delphi case. I've heard that. Refresh my memory, can you? While I'm waiting on her to respond, guys, everybody that's here, please like and subscribe for me. It's free. It helps the channel a lot. Um, so, anywho, we know that there was a big altercation or an argument, a fight on the Paladino compound after the 18th, where Nicole threatened to call the police on Garrett and Jason, and they were something about her car keys were taken. Garrett was trying to get the car or get in the car, and she left. And from that point, her sister received some messages from her that she felt her like basically saying, "My life is in danger, and do you not care if I'm dead or alive?" Okay, no problem, Travis. Walking around the ranch. Listen to you. I know it's bad. The weather here's bad. So, anywho, she starts sending those messages to family that her life is in danger. After the police show up at Ashley's, I don't want to go into all the details because I want to tell the full, complete, detailed story as we cover the case again. But ultimately, Garrett ends up showing up at Ashley's, uh, furious. Whether it be because I think on March 25th, what was ultimately happening was he was just unraveling. He's killed someone. He was arrested in um, the deceased person's vehicle. He had a girl with him who knows all of his business. She possibly knows about Ray. Who's threatening to tell on him. Police are looking for him, and now Ashley's on Facebook putting his business out there, calling him names. So he shows up. A fight breaks out, and she takes off. She runs to a friend's house. He follows, immediately attacks her again, strangles her again, and fortunately, which this is kind of new because when we were covering it in the beginning, we didn't have this information, but the person who pulled Garrett off of her has come forward to say, "Hey, I was there, and it's because of me that he took her to the hospital because I made him. I was going to call the police if he didn't take her to the hospital." So those hospital records from White County ER on the 25th do exist. She was there. However, Garrett and Ashley allowed him to lie. Ashley was afraid of him. She was very afraid of him, and she was one of the, she's the typical abused female in a relationship who would sit there and rather be submissive than to put herself in harm's way. And she's released from the hospital. She has a friend. She calls a friend to pick her up. He shows up. He's not happy that Garrett is with her, and I interviewed that friend. His recording is on the channel. And ultimately, they go to Garrett takes her to Jasmine's house. He tells her he wants to get a tattoo. And when he's done getting his tattoo, he's going to take her home. So they get there Wednesday night in the evening. Thursday, she falls asleep on the couch. Chris Mathis is there. Jasmine Parker is there. Chris Mathis is trying to find his tattoo equipment to give him this tattoo. And they, are just digging through the house looking for all of these pieces and parts. Ashley fell asleep on the couch. When she wakes up the next morning, Chris Mathis is gone. Jasmine is still there. And now Mikey Hiddle is there, who's someone else that will be introduced later. He's a friend of Jasmine's. Now you have to understand, Ashley had never been to this person's house before. She had never met Chris Mathis. She had never met Jasmine. And I don't really believe that Jasmine Parker had really met Garrett either. I think this was her first time meeting Garrett and Ashley both. Chris, however, knew Garrett. So Garrett, or I don't know who wanted the meth. It was one of the four of them that were in the trailer. It was, Garrett, Mikey, Ashley, or Jasmine. But Garrett and Mikey wanted to drive to Delphi to get meth. And Ashley immediately started getting her stuff together. She wanted to go. And according to Mikey, they were fighting. She was not happy about the situation. She wanted to leave. And Garrett was saying no, because she wanted to go. If you're going to Delphi, take me home. I want to go home. Garrett said, no, we'll go. I'll take you back later. So they get into an argument. Garrett says, fine, we're going to run to the gas station and we'll be right back and we'll get you and we'll go. So they leave and they never come back. They left her there. And no communication, not knowing where he was, not knowing if he was coming back to get her. She begins to freak out. She knows that he's going to the compound to get meth. And so she starts trying to get a hold of Talitha through Facebook because she knows that Talitha lives there. And they're giving her the run. Talitha's giving her the runaround, like, I don't know where he's at. I haven't seen him. And she knew damn well that he was on the way. So, and it really unfolds and unravels from there. So, you guys have any questions? I'm going to leave it, as far as the details, I'm going to leave it at that right now because we've spent so much time gathering all of the docs on this case. And, she just really needs the support. She was sentenced to 48 years and she should not have been charged with this. And she's in post-conviction right now. And we are doing everything that we can do to supply her case with as much information as we can to get her either a new trial or at least an evidentiary hearing that would make a change in her sentencing. Yes, Travis is in Texas, Mother of Dragons. Yeah, well, don't dig too deep, Indiana girl. Follow us right here. We're gonna cover it all right here. And even when you read certain things in this case, there's no you're still kind of like at a loss. Like, for example, like the DNA, they didn't even get a sample of Nicole's DNA, the victim in the case. They didn't get a standard for her. So all of the DNA in this case is a bunch of mixtures. And when you have, when these individuals all walked in at almost midnight, Ashley's like, what in the F is going on? And Nicole had been previously making threats to Ashley on Facebook. Ashley and her had gone back and forth, so they did not like each other. Nicole came at Ashley. They had a physical interaction briefly before Garrett grabbed Nicole and strangled her. And so, I mean, if you can imagine the issue with the DNA transfer, touch, Ashley was crying. Garrett, when after he put Nicole on the floor, he hit Ashley, chased her back to the bedroom, hit her again. So the DNA is pretty much it's a mess in this case. No, they did not get. They did not take a standard of the DNA of Nicole. Travis says they are all tweakers. All of them wanted meth, and one says, "Hey, I can get some meth. All I need is a ride. Pretty much is all it takes." Yep. So it's a crazy complicated. It's a complex case, and you know, there's several different angles that the case can be worked by an attorney, and I respect that. But the details, the facts and the details are there, and the things that I'm discussing are things that if she was to get a new trial, could all possibly be in play. Not every single part of it, but some of it, a lot of it, should be in play. And Miku's headphone says, "And how dare you not want meth?" Right? Yeah, she had a public defender, and unfortunately, the same public defender filed her appeal, um, which obviously Ashley had no idea that should have not happened. And um, I'll, I'll I'll put it to you like this: the individual Mikey Hiddle, who was there multiple times throughout that night, whose house Garrett took Nicole to for multiple hours before ever going back out to Kentland. They spent the evening at Mikey Hiddle's house with Talitha. Ashley's attorney never spoke to Michael Hiddle, not once. Mikey Hiddle was never put on the stand. So, murder. She was charged with felony murder, conspiracy, and assisting a criminal. The assisting a criminal was because she didn't come forward right away. And the conspiracy was never proven. It was basically Garrett saying, "Well, yeah, Ashley, was there when me and Jason were talking about this," and then on the stand admitted, "Well, no, she wasn't there that time. Ashley was not there. Ashley was not over at the Paladinos. Ashley wasn't at the Paladinos because Garrett and Nicole were at the Paladinos. If anyone was there conspiring, if anyone there on that property would have benefited from Jason not being snitched on, would have been Garrett and Talitha Beckley." Yeah, no one mentioned Ashley did anything in any of their interrogations. And it took Garrett all the way to his second one after a 3-hour compulsive lying one. He didn't bring up Ashley either until Detective Rowe basically said, "Everybody's putting this on you, Garrett." And his immediate response was, "Have you talked to Ashley?" He said, "We've talked to everybody." Then he immediately changed the story. So Travis says, so something significant in that county, Newton. Their standard practice is to have trial counsel be appointed at direct appeal counsel. Michael has indicated that's not standard practice at large. Yeah, I was curious about that, especially when I heard in Carroll County the rule is the opposite. that immediately after a verdict, the original trial attorneys are removed and an appellate counsel is assigned. Like, I mean, I guess, yeah, Carroll County was what, like 3,000 population, and Newton County might be what, 1,500? Mother of Dragons, you are probably absolutely right. Hmm. Well, you called them Clandestine Labs? Well, unless somebody throws down the gauntlet and tells, but I think that's what we're seeing all of these cover-ups for, or hushing. You know, there's got to be a reason some of this stuff transpires. Michael says depends on the county. Here in Bloomington, the PDs mostly do their own appeals. Well, I wish Lori James had not done Ashley's. So I think we are going to end it there. Keep it short for today. Ashley does have a Facebook case discussion group. I recommend join it. Um, Me and Cherie are going to start revamping that page and start. We're going to, and actually we're talking about putting together a website for Ashley's case and all of everything that we have for her, putting it all available to the public since we have the majority of it. I would love to get more docs from Ray's case now that it's a close case because Garrett pled guilty to that. A lot of it's been handed over to Ashley's current attorney because it's something that he's going to use in her post conviction relief case. So a filing should be coming down at any time. Oh, I know what I wanted to ask you, Travis or Michael. Michael, you might know more because you're from Indiana. So the clerk filed for an extension on doing the transcripts for this post conviction appeal, and you know John Pinot is appealing the ruling from the judge who denied the PCR after the hearing. But the court reporter requested an extension, and the judge granted it until Friday, February 14th. So, do you know, in reference to the clock, what that means for John Pinot? Is he given an X amount of time from the time that those transcripts are provided? Or is it when those transcripts are provided, he's expected to file his motion? Cherie, do you have anything that you want to add?
Um, no, I think you did a good overall coverage for the start of it. Um, I I'm trying to find out more about this Jennifer Dean case that they're talking about that Nick apparently handled.
Mm.
Just wanted to see what that's about.
Okay, thank you, Michael. Yeah, Travis, it was the transcripts. It was 30 days from the notice of filing. So it'd be 30 days from February 14th when she had to have them in. It was that's what was bizarre to me about this extension because it was a 3-hour hearing that was held back on November 7th. And she didn't even file for the extension until the beginning of February. And I'm like, how busy is Newton County? And all of the trial transcripts we've already got, all the depositions, all of that stuff. She's been done with that for, Ashley's been in Indiana Women's Prison now for, well, since 2021. So, all right, everybody. That's going to be it for today. Keep it short. You guys enjoy your Sunday. Thanks for being here, and hit that like and subscribe and share. And I will see you guys tomorrow at 2:00. We're going to do the open panel, open theory. Uh, you know, bring your common sense to the table. Please don't come on with some craziness about a theory. Let's keep it realistic. Let's have a very productive conversation. And I'll let you come up and we can chat it out. And hopefully we'll have some really interesting conversations tomorrow. So we will see you guys later, and thanks for being here.